Story 1. The government facility. I've been working security for my company for about 7 years now. Thanks to all that time, I've got seniority over most of the other guards. I've also racked up way more training certifications and credentials than the newer guys. Recently, our company landed a contract for this massive federal research facility. The location of this place is what makes it so unsettling. I can't give you the exact address, but I can tell you it's in the absolute middle of nowhere in rural Nevada, about 40 miles outside of Reno. It's a massive 8-story concrete building surrounded by an enormous parking lot. The entire lot is enclosed by a 12-foot-tall chain-link fence topped with razor wire. There's only one entrance and one exit at the front gate, where the parking lot meets a narrow access road. That access road stretches for about 4 miles before it even reaches the main highway. Beyond the fence, there's nothing but dense pine forest in every direction. No other buildings, no houses, no gas stations, nothing. Just trees and darkness for miles. Because of my seniority, I usually get to pick my shifts. Normally, I work day shifts and take weekends off. But a few months after we started this contract, we ran into a problem. We couldn't keep people on the overnight weekend shifts. During the day, we have 4 guards working 7 days a week. On overnight weekdays, we have 3 guards. But on overnight weekends, Friday through Sunday, there's supposed to be just 2 guards. I should mention that every guard at this facility is armed. We all carry Glock 19s and have to qualify at the range every quarter. We were bleeding people on the weekend overnights. My supervisor, a guy named Rick Martinez, pulled me aside one afternoon and asked if I could help out temporarily. Work some overtime on the weekend nights until they could hire and train more people. I could have said no. Looking back, I absolutely should have said no. But at the time, I was saving up for a down payment on a house, and the overtime pay was too good to pass up. So I agreed. The first 3 weekends were completely uneventful, quiet, boring even. But what happened on the 4th weekend made me deeply regret taking those extra shifts. It was a Saturday night around 2:45 a.m. There was a violent thunderstorm rolling through the area. I was stationed in the security control room on the 8th floor. The control room has a large window that overlooks the rear section of the parking lot. Inside, there are 4 massive monitors displaying live feeds from all the CCTV cameras throughout the building and the exterior lot. There are also a few cameras at the front gate. I was doing what I usually do on solo overnight shifts. Lights off, watching a movie I'd downloaded on my tablet, occasionally glancing at the camera feeds. I'd been sitting for a couple hours and was starting to feel stiff, so I got up to stretch and walk around. I was also getting drowsy and thinking about heading down the hall to grab an energy drink from the vending machine. After stretching for a bit, I walked over to the window and pulled back the blinds to look outside. The storm was intense. Heavy rain, strong winds whipping debris across the parking lot. I was about to turn away when a massive flash of lightning lit up the forest beyond the fence. In that brief moment of illumination, I saw a figure sprint from one tree to another. The distance it covered was impossible, at least 30 feet in what seemed like a single second. I stayed at the window, staring into the darkness, waiting for another lightning flash. A few seconds later, another bolt struck. This time, I didn't see anything near the tree where the figure had been. I convinced myself I was just tired, my eyes playing tricks on me. I left the control room and walked down the hall to the vending machine. I grabbed a Monster energy drink and downed the entire thing in about 30 seconds, hoping the caffeine would kick in fast. The walk back to the control room took maybe 5 minutes. When I got back, I immediately noticed that one of the camera feeds was out. It was the camera covering the back section of the parking lot, the same area I'd been looking at through the window. I went back to the window and peered out. I could see the camera dangling by its cables from the mounting pole, swinging wildly in the wind. I figured the storm must have knocked it loose somehow. I sat back down at my desk and logged the damaged camera in my incident report. Then I went back to my movie. A few minutes passed. Then I heard it, the alert tone that plays when someone accesses one of the building's secured entry points. Each door requires a 6-digit code on a keypad. I pulled up the access log on the main monitor. The entry point being accessed was the rear door, the one that opens directly into the back parking lot, right where the camera had been knocked out. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Someone was outside. First the figure in the woods, then the camera getting knocked out. Now this. Whoever it was had the access code because the system showed a green light. Successful entry. I knew it wasn't another guard or employee. If someone was scheduled to be here, I would have been notified. I grabbed the desk phone to call the police. Dead. No dial tone. I checked my cell phone. No signal. The storm must have knocked out the landline, and cell reception out here was already terrible. I decided to walk down the hallway toward the stairwell to try to get a signal. I left the control room and started down the hall, eyes glued to my phone, watching for even a single bar. Suddenly, the power cut out. The entire building went dark. I was close to the stairwell, so I made a split-second decision. I was going to run down to the lobby, get to my truck in the parking lot, and drive straight to the front gate to call for help. I pushed open the stairwell door. It was pitch black inside. I decided to use the darkness to my advantage and move as quietly as possible. The generator room is in the basement. If someone cut the power, that's where they'd be. Unfortunately, the basement is directly below the lobby. I'd have to pass it to get out. I made it down to the 5th floor when I heard a door open at the bottom of the stairwell. I froze. My heart was hammering in my chest. I'm armed, yes. I've been through training. But in that moment, I realized I wasn't sure if I was actually ready to shoot someone. I prayed it wouldn't come to that. Then I heard footsteps, heavy boots on concrete, coming up the stairs. I turned around and started moving back up as quickly and quietly as I could. My plan was to get back to the 8th floor. At the top of that stairwell, there's a ladder that leads to a roof access hatch. I was going to climb up and hide in the darkness until I could figure out what to do next. I was almost to the 7th floor when my gun bumped against the metal stair railing. The sound echoed through the stairwell like a gunshot. The footsteps below me stopped. For a few seconds, there was total silence. Then I heard whoever it was start running. Full sprint, coming up fast. I bolted. I ran up those stairs faster than I've ever run in my life. When I reached the 8th floor, I had an idea. I shoved the door open hard and let it slam shut on its own, making it sound like I'd gone through. Then I kept running to the ladder and climbed up into the darkness above. Seconds later, the man burst through the door into the hallway. He didn't even glance up at the ladder. The door slammed shut behind him. That was my chance. I dropped down from the ladder, landing hard on the concrete. The sound echoed. I heard the door fly open again. He'd heard me. I ran down the stairs, taking them 3 at a time. He was right behind me. I could hear his boots pounding on the steps. I stayed 1 floor ahead of him the entire way down. When I hit the lobby level, I heard a loud crash behind me, followed by a shout of pain. I think he tripped and fell. I didn't stop to check. I burst through the lobby door, sprinted to the front entrance, and used my key to unlock it. My truck was parked close to the building. I hit the key fob to start the engine and unlock the doors as I ran across the lot. The rain was pouring down, soaking me instantly. I jumped into the truck, threw it in reverse, and that's when I saw him, dressed all in black, ski mask, standing in the doorway, staring at me. I floored it, drove straight to the front gate, punched in the exit code, and got the hell out of there. As soon as I had cell signal, I called 911. The police arrived about 20 minutes later. They searched the entire building. They found the generator had been manually shut off. They found muddy boot prints in the stairwell. But they didn't find anyone. Whoever it was had vanished into the woods. I quit that contract the next day. I don't care how much they offered to pay me. Some jobs aren't worth it. Story 2. The hospital basement. My name is James Kowalski, and I've been working hospital security for about 4 years now. I work at St. Michael's Medical Center in Detroit, Michigan. It's a large hospital, about 12 stories tall, with a basement, level that houses the morgue, medical record storage, and some old equipment. This happened about 6 months ago, in early May of 2024. I was working the overnight shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. It was a Wednesday night, so it was pretty quiet. Most of the hospital was dark except for the emergency department and a few patient floors. Around 3:15 a.m., I got a call on my radio from the night supervisor, a woman named Patricia Hayes. She said one of the nurses on the 4th floor had reported hearing strange noises coming from the basement, specifically from the old medical records room, which hadn't been used in over a year since everything went digital. I grabbed my flashlight and headed down. The basement is creepy even during the day. Low ceilings, flickering fluorescent lights, that distinct hospital smell mixed with mildew. At night, it's worse. The hallways are long and empty, and your footsteps echo off the tile floors. I took the service elevator down. When the doors opened, I stepped out into the basement hallway. The lights were on, but about half of them were either flickering or completely out. I walked toward the medical records room, which is at the far end of the hall, past the morgue. As I got closer, I heard it, a rhythmic thumping sound, like someone hitting a wall, thump, 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 over and over. I stopped outside. The medical records room door. The sound was definitely coming from inside. I tried the handle. Locked. I pulled out my master key and unlocked it. The thumping stopped the moment I turned the key. I pushed the door open slowly. The room was pitch black. I shined my flashlight. Inside, rows and rows of old filing cabinets and metal shelves stacked with boxes, everything covered in dust. "Security," I called out. "Is someone in here?" No response, just silence. I stepped inside, sweeping my flashlight across the room. Nothing seemed out of place. I was about to leave when I heard a scraping sound behind me. I spun around. One of the filing cabinet drawers was slowly sliding open. By itself, I'm not a superstitious person, but I got the hell out of that room. I locked the door behind me and radioed Patricia. I told her I didn't find anyone, but I recommended we keep that room locked and maybe have maintenance check it out in the morning. She agreed. I went back upstairs, finished my shift, and went home. I didn't think much more about it until the next night. Thursday night, same shift. Around 2:30 a.m., I got another call, this time from a different nurse. She said she'd seen someone in a hospital gown walking into the basement stairwell on the 2nd floor. She thought it was a confused patient. I went down to the basement again. This time, I searched the entire level. The morgue, the storage rooms, the mechanical rooms. Nothing. No one. But when I walked past the medical records room, I heard it again. The thumping, louder this time, more aggressive. I unlocked the door and pushed it open. My flashlight beam landed on something that made my stomach drop. There was a hospital gown lying on the floor in the middle of the room. It hadn't been there the night before. I picked it up. It was old, yellowed with age, and it had a name tag still attached. Patient Margaret Holloway, admitted 10/14/1987. That was 37 years ago. I took the gown and left. I showed it to Patricia. She looked it up in the old record system. Margaret Holloway had been a patient at St. Michael's in 1987. She died in the hospital, in the basement, in what used to be a patient room before the basement was converted to storage, the room that's now the medical records room. I don't work the overnight shift anymore. I requested to be moved to days. They approved it without question, because I'm not the first guard to report strange things happening in that basement, and I won't be the last. Story 3. The Medical Clinic. My name is Tyler Chen, and I'm 24 years old. This story is from my very first night working as a mobile security guard in the Greater Toronto area. Actually, it was my first night of training. For those who don't know, a mobile security guard drives around to different client locations and does site checks. We respond to alarms, do perimeter patrols, and make sure everything is secure. This incident happened at a pharmacy and medical clinic in Mississauga, Ontario. It was around 1:30 a.m. My trainer was a guy named Derek Singh. He was a good guy, showing me the ropes, teaching me how to write reports, disarm fire alarms, all the basics. Usually, if there's an alarm, dispatch radios us and we respond. But this was just a routine patrol. No alarm. We were just checking to make sure everything looked normal. We pulled up to the clinic around 1:30 a.m. As soon as we got out of the vehicle and walked toward the building, we both knew something was wrong. The underground parking garage gate was wide open, and the front door of the building was smashed. Glass everywhere. Derek looked at me and said, "What the hell? If someone broke in, the alarm should be going off." I didn't know what to say. This was my first time at this location. Derek told me this was a brand new contract for our company. We'd only been covering this site for about 2 weeks. We stepped inside carefully. Derek pulled out his baton. I didn't have one yet since I was still in training. As we stood in the lobby, Derek pointed at the elevator. "Look, it's moving." He was right. The elevator was going up. G1, 2, 3, 4. It stopped on the 4th floor. The top floor. Someone's in. "Here," Derek said. He radioed dispatch and told them we had a possible break-in and were investigating. We got in the elevator and rode up to the 4th floor. My heart was pounding. I kept thinking, what if someone's waiting for us when the doors open? What if they attack us? But when the doors opened, the hallway was empty and dark. We turned on the lights and started checking the rooms. Derek told me to stay close to him. He said, and I quote, "Stick with me and be ready for anything." We checked every room on the 4th floor. Nothing. No one. We were both confused. Then we heard footsteps in the stairwell. Going down, Derek and I ran to the stairwell door. We were about to open it and chase whoever it was. But the story